The subject of arguments reminds me of a childhood story from the Middle East. A man left behind 17 camels for his 3 sons. For the first son, he left half the camels. For the second son, he left 1/3 of the camels. And to the third son, he left 1/9 of the camels. So now we had a problem. 17 does not divide by 2. It does not divide by 3, nor does it divide by 9. So there was an argument. There were arguments, and more arguments. So the 3 sons go to an old wise woman to get her advice. So the old woman thinks for a while, and then she says, I'm not sure about the solution to your problem, but if it can help, you can take one of my camels. So she offers them one of her camels, and now they have 18 camels. So now the first son gets 9 camels, which is half of 18, and the second son gets 1/3, that is 6 camels, and the third son gets 1/9 of 18, that is 2 camels, and they are still left with 1. So now they go back and return that 1 camel to the old woman. So here we can see that stepping back from the problem and looking at it from a fresh perspective, we can find solutions to arguments. So in our life as testers, test engineers, test managers, we often encounter situations where the tester needs to advocate the quality perspective. Situations where the tester needs to convince stakeholders on his or her stand. In most of these situations, if not all, a tester encounters what I call the dark side. Have you heard of the dark side? What is the dark side? In the dark side, a tester encounters voices. Voices of dissent. Voices that digress from the tester's viewpoint. So let's take a look at some of these voices. So here, I have a question to the people in this room here. How many of you, as testers, have encountered these voices and found it difficult to convince the person on the other side? How many of you? Almost everyone? Yeah, that's good. So if you look at it, most of these situations, in fact, if not all, lead to arguments, and arguments give rise to what I call the argumentative tester. So I'm going to talk about this argumentative tester today, and we shall take a look at some of the ways in which a tester can win some of these arguments. Having said that, it's important to note what Joseph Joubert, French moralist and essayist, had to say about arguments. He said that the aim of the argument or discussion is not victory but progress. In our case, as testers, it's quality. So the focus of my talk today would not be on winning arguments. It can go either way. But the focus would be on how a tester can prepare and present his arguments in a coherent, persuasive, and effective manner. There's a person who wants to cross the river. So he's looking for ways to cross it. When he looks at a person who's sitting on the other side, he's a Zen monk who's meditating, and he calls out to him and asks, how did you get to the other side? And the Zen monk opens his eyes, looks at him and says, friend, I'm already on the other side. So if you look at it, both have a different frame of reference. So each person is on the other side from their frame of reference. So frozen frames of reference there. What are the challenges in argumentation in this kind of conversation? If you look at it, the first one is different perceptions of quality among stakeholders. So each stakeholder has his own perception of quality. If you look at customer support, that which can be explained easily to the customer in terms of if you look at documentation or technical documentation team, that which can be easily explained to the customer is a good product. In terms of customer support, what is easily serviceable is a good product. And in terms of development, readable code which follows conventions is good, high quality product, and so on. So different perceptions among different stakeholders in the SDLC. The next challenge is we always, in fact most of the times we as testers present problems to people who are already under stress. Don't you think so? Yeah, okay. And then we also have what I call the code complexity and deadlines effect. The greater the code complexity, the greater the inertia for change, the greater the need to convince, and the closer we are to the deadline, the greater the inertia for change. So these are the common challenges that a tester faces in argumentation. So let's take a closer look at each of these elements in the argumentation framework. The first one is called zoning. So what is zoning? It's creating an environment for maximum stakeholder receptivity. So this is where a tester builds his groundwork and prepares the environment where people or stakeholders are more receptive to his or her ideas. This is before you actually put forth the argument. So let's just take a look at some of the zoning tactics. Before that, it's also important to note that in zoning, the primary focus is on building trust, because people buy into trust first and ideas second. So let's take a look at some of the zoning tactics. The first one is called what's in it for me. Here, the person on the other side needs to be convinced as to what's in it for him if the person agrees to your side of the story. So we shall take a look at some of how in the previous conversation a tester could have used this strategy. We shall come to that later. The second one is what I call who else says so. So if there's somebody who's credible in the system, somebody whom a lot of people trust, if that person is on your side or is convinced of your side of the argument, you have a strong case. So you need to do your groundwork to get support from the others. That is who else says so. The third one is called compare. To explain the concept of compare, let me ask you a question. You are an Olympics game contender and you have a very slim chance of winning the gold, but you have a fair chance of winning the silver or the bronze medal. Would you be happier with a silver or a bronze? How many of you are for silver? Let me have a show of hands. Okay. I think there are a lot it's a trick question, so people, I think, you'll be happy with bronze, the rest of you, everyone? No, you don't have a chance to win gold. Sorry? No chance. Okay, let's make it no chance. Silver or bronze? Silver. Okay. So the answer is, in the survey in 2004, the Olympians revealed that bronze medalists would have been happier or were happier than the silver medalists. The reason was the phenomenon called compare, where the silver medalists compared themselves with the gold and felt unhappy that they did not win or could not make it to the gold, and the bronze medalists compared themselves with the people who could not even get to the medal tally and felt happy that they were at least getting some medal. So it's all about making choices, creating these choices and showing that comparison favorably to the person on the other side.